Nobody does it better.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we will do roll call. Lucas Hurd. Here. Jeff Klein. Sean Morrison. Here. Kayla Poisson. Here. George Pushies.
Here.
Megan Swain Cooch is here. Dave Witt.
Here.
We have quorum. And we will have our first call to the public, non-related to this moratorium. We are having a public hearing at that time on the agenda, and that would be your time to speak to this proposed ordinance for the moratorium on wind and solar. So anything non-related to that, we will have our first call to the public. You'll need to sign in and with your name as well, or print your name as well as your address. Seeing none, we will go to approval of the Planning Commission meeting February 13th agenda. I do have one addition, number 6, and that is the approval of the January 9th, 2023 closed session minutes, of which all of the commissioners should have seen a quick copy of before tonight's meeting. So I'm going to add that as number 6. Communications goes to 7. Then 8, 9, 10, and 11. Do I have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
I make that motion.
Motion by Dave Witt, second by Sean Morrison to approve the Planning Commission meeting February 13th agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You should have received your January 9th regular meeting minutes in your packet. Do I have a motion to accept those? Motion by Jeff Klein, support by Lucas Kerr to accept and approve the meeting minutes of January 9th, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 was the addition. We need a motion to approve the January 9th, 2023 closed session minutes.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion by Dave Witt, support by Jeff Klein to approve the January 9th, 2023 closed session minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Communications, zoning administrators report.
We had 2 land use permits last month on the solar building and the driveway.
Okay. We have 2 land use permits, one for a driveway and one for a building.
Can he speak into the microphone so that people can hear him? This is why everybody's here, to listen to you guys. We'd like to hear you.
Accessory building and a driveway.
Okay. Thank you. The Livingston County Planning Commission update report. I know Dennis is here in the audience, but I did include in your packet the meeting minutes, and they did take up the moratorium issue out of Cohocton, so you have the information out of Cohocton as well as They opted not to take a vote on that due to some concern. So I anticipate that we are going to experience the same outcome once this moratorium goes to the Livingston County Planning Commission. Okay, we will begin our public hearing at 7:05 p.m. A public hearing on proposed zoning amendment to impose a moratorium on the issue of permits, licenses, or approvals for, or any construction of commercial wind and solar energy projects, and to repeal sections of the township zoning ordinance pertaining to wind energy and solar energy collectors. Do you want me to turn it over to you? And we're accepting public comments on this. We have now opened up the public hearing.
Yeah, so good evening, and thanks for inviting me to be here. Yeah, so this would be the point where the public can comment on the proposed moratorium ordinance that is in front of you. You have two documents. One is a resolution approving or recommending for approval the moratorium ordinance, which is also attached to that. And now is the opportunity for the public to comment on that moratorium.
Sarah Porter, 9402 Sober Room. Per the language in our current moratorium, it was originally put in place to allow the township to revise and amend the current ordinance related to large-scale commercial solar energy systems. The moratorium notes property owners were experiencing development pressure and receiving proposals from developers. The intended revision and amendments are stated as being necessary to best protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents and property owners of the township. Such a moratorium advances a legitimate public interest, as the current regulations do not afford the protection needed to ensure that the residents and property owners of Conway Township are not adversely affected. The developers of these projects have demonstrated predatory actions of conducting business on both our residents and especially on the boards of this township. From good neighbor bribes, false advertising in our local paper, paid actors posing as farmers in our meetings, showing up at residents' homes uninvited, all the way to calling a resident's place of employment in an effort to cause problems with their employer. With business practices such as these, it has put undue stress on the boards of this township in making an incredibly important decision. The ordinance revisions that must be made by this township, which will have lasting impacts for generations to come, should not have to be made under these conditions. In the terms of the moratorium, the township is still in the same position of needing to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of their residents and our property, as the necessary amendments are not yet in place to ensure your fiduciary duty has been met. I respectfully ask that you extend the moratorium and take the recommendation of Mr. Homier to take your time and not rush a decision that will affect us for more than 30 years. Thank you.
Hello, Steve Smith, Rock Road. As instructed by the board, we reviewed the Sand Creek Solar versus Benton Township court case and provided the Planning Commission with a one-page summary, which I hope you've all read. Sand Creek sued the township alleging they had improperly imposed a moratorium and their ordinance is exclusionary. The judge ruled that it is not exclusionary because there is no demonstrated need, and since the process was new to the township, it was reasonable to invoke a moratorium. We also reviewed Judge Kalinda's presentation to Pine Township. He is a retired circuit court judge who presided over more than 20,000 cases. He stated that Michigan's laws on exclusionary zoning with its four-part test clearly defined it, and he joked that for once the legislature's got something right. To be exclusionary, a zoning ordinance must totally prohibit a class of use. For example, a township probably can't prohibit all wind turbines, but it can regulate the height. Townships are under no obligation to adopt ordinances that facilitate a developer's business model. Their only concern is the health, safety, and welfare of the community. There must also be a demonstrated need for the use. However, that need can be met by surrounding areas. Judge Kalinda gave the example of Livonia, which prohibited all billboards in the city proper. That was not exclusionary because 2 miles down the road, billboards are allowed. So Conway is in a strong position to enact a balanced ordinance that protects its residents, but we need some more time. Most of the community wasn't aware of these utility-scale solar projects until last October and had little input until recently. We need time for Mr. Homier to get on board and for us to develop a wind ordinance as well. Therefore, I urge the Planning Commission to follow Kahata's lead and extend the moratorium. Here's a little history. The first settlers in Conway Township were the Parsons family who settled along Heater Road and Rock Road in 1836. Larry Parsons was a longtime trustee here. So that makes our community 187 years old. With our long agricultural heritage, 187 years, it behooves us to take some more time to do this right, as these solar projects could completely ruin the character of our beautiful township without proper regulation. I am closing with a quote from Supervisor Grubb. Bill wisely noted that industry is always ahead of the local government. The power companies know what they wanted in an ordinance to make them the most money. We have had to start from scratch and do a lot of research on some very technical matters. So no wonder we need a little more time to revise some things for the health, safety, and welfare of our community. I am submitting my notes. Thank you.
Kennedy Parker, 7,000 Painter Road. This moratorium is one of the most single, impactful, important decisions this Planning Commission is going to make, representative of this township. Nearly 40 years or more is what is expected to be put in this township and in this community. The decision that you make is one that should represent what your community wants, and that should be readily apparent by now. To have Attorney Homier here was the right decision and an important one, and we need to afford him the time to consider all the significance of what these companies want to do to this township. And you are our leadership, and we need you to do the right thing. Recently in Kahata, these attorneys from these companies were just essentially threatening that township if they didn't do what they wanted. I'd like to know from those attorneys what legal standing they think they even have in these areas. They have absolutely zero investment in this community. We stand before you, we sit before you, asking you to do the right thing. And the moratorium is that, to represent this community, give it the time necessary to make the right decisions. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Clint Beach from 11388 Owasso. I'm actually on the Cohocton side of the border. Everything across the street is Conway, so the Headland project would actually affect, whatever you guys do here is going to affect me on my side of the street too. Hey, I'm just here tonight to let you know where Conway Township stands in the process. I was there at the last meeting. Our planning commission decided, and which was agreed upon by the Livingston County Commissioners 6-0, to revamp from the beginning all solar and wind ordinances and extend for another 12-month moratorium. The final vote by our board of trustees was last Thursday, which was 5-0 to extend the moratorium. The point of this would be to give ample time to address the numerous concerns brought forth by the residents. Now, this is exactly where you guys are at right now. This is what everybody in the room is asking for. Ample time to address the numerous concerns by your residents. My daughter is 16, a junior in high school. She's very smart and we're very proud of her. She's taking some business classes at U of M Flint, and she's been coming with me to some of these township meetings because it's a real-world application of what she's learning in class. And she's had numerous questions. The saddest thing I've had to explain to her is that in business, there is no room for ethics. Not if profits are the only goal. But we're not here tonight to talk about their ROIs or timeline. We're here to talk about civics. And in civics, ethics must always be the goal. The decisions that will be made in this room are going to last for the next 30 plus years. And let's face it, looking at this board, not all of us are going to be here. My 16-year-old daughter, a junior in high school, she will be pushing 50 when it's time to deal with all this. A 12-month moratorium just to make sure we're getting this right seems like such a small price to pay for the next 30 years.
I'm Megan Beach. I live on 9020 Eagle Lane in Conway Township. I want to ask respectfully that you extend the moratorium, and I believe, based on the lack of information in Michigan with large-scale utility power plants, we're asking for a lot of data around what this could happen in our town or in our township. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of large-scale utility solar plants in agricultural land for us to say, here's the data on real estate, prices, whether they go up or down, and here's the data on the toxicities. We know we have a lot of information from other places and other towns, but we really don't know what it's going to do to Michigan. And I think that Shiawassee has, a plant that most people have gone and seen, but it's only been there a year. And so for them to tell us it's safe, and for them to tell us that believe everything you hear coming out of the university that's paid for by utility companies, really leads you into this position of, well, they're telling us this and we should believe all this, but we've heard so many other things that make us not believe what they say. So why not take the time to do the due diligence, which Mr. O'Meara is going to help us do, so that we can actually have some, belief that we're here for the township and that we're actually growing a better township and not just looking for the almighty buck, because the almighty buck isn't going to do much for us when we get towards retirement age and we are trying to just settle in, right? So I really do appreciate everything you guys do, and I know that it's a hard position to be in, but I think the moratorium standing for another 12 months gives us enough time for you to do all the due diligence and for us to be here and watch it all unfold so that we all feel like we're on the same page.
Thank you.
Randy Defoe, live on Fowlerville Road. I just have a couple of questions. With the test panel still up on Killinger Road, was there ever a land use permit issued for that? And I see them up, they're doing doing soil samples all the time. I'm wondering what's going on there. It seems to me we're kind of in a holding pattern here, but the solar people seem to be going forward. So those are the only questions I've got. Just wondering on the land use permit, is that ever issued?
There were no permits pulled, and I sent the landowner a violation notice to have it removed on Wednesday. And that letter went out.
Okay, so it'll be removed on Wednesday?
No, that's when I mailed the letter on Wednesday. They have to give them a reasonable amount of time, so we've got 2 weeks to remove it.
Okay, what do you guys know about the soil samples they're taking?
That I didn't know.
Okay. That, you know, it just seems weird if we're in a holding pattern, why they're moving forward.
Yeah, I didn't know they were doing soil samples, so.
Yep. I've watched them many times. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Brown, 9265 Sober. So I'm here to talk about a few numbers before we get too far down the road here. I think this is very important to extend the moratorium to be able to really figure these numbers out. And in the newspaper, they had posted that for the lifetime of the project, that it's going to create $18 million worth of revenue. So in the study by Mary McClellan Clay, an appraisal institute member, says that the study that she had done, there was a -6 to a -30% in the housing in the areas of solar. And that depends on how far away you get. From 3 miles in, it fluctuates the number. So I used the 10%, which I feel is fairly conservative, considering she does up to 30%. And I have that study with me to give you. There are approximately 1,264 homes in Conway Township. Average price is $287,500. The average tax at Pete Daniels homes is 1.2%, which equals $3,450 per household per year. 10% loss would bring those taxes down to $3,105, with a difference of $345 per household, which equals $436,080 a year in lost revenue for 35 years, which equals $262,000 for only a difference of about $2,700,000 over the life of the project is what they say in the paper. And most contracts that I have heard about are 30 years with a 5-year possible extension. So that's 35 years. So basically we're talking about less than $80,000 a year in actual revenue that this is going to create for the community when you do these numbers. And when people go to sell their homes, you're looking at a loss of 10%, which is $28,700. And total home value loss, if you do 10% across the board, is $36,340,000. So I would like them to put this all down on paper and truly show us what the difference is between what they are creating and the tax revenue that they are bringing to our community and the loss to the people of this community. So I have that report with me to submit. I'm sure you're all reading all of this. It's a book. And this is not the only report. If you would like more, I have more. I have more.
You're at 3 minutes.
Okay, I just have a few other documentations for you that are in here. One is from an agronomist and what it does, what this will do to the soil in time over a 30-year period. I'd love for you to read that, please. I had that a consultant do this for us, for our community. I would love for you to read that. And I have another documentation that supports his findings. And also have a thing from the state of New York that talks about the cost of decommission per acre of land and the breakdown of each individual thing of that cost, which totals about $98,000 an acre in future costs. Thank you.
If there are no other public comments regarding the moratorium, then we close the public hearing.
Thank you for the opportunity.
What was your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, I wrote it down.
That's okay.
I'm trying to hurry with my 3 minutes. I'm Mary Bertel. I'm on Gander Road. I have spoken before about several concerns, but I just wanted to bring to your attention a friendly reminder. It is really worth it to take the time, especially for people in my age group. My life is on hold right now. My whole retirement is in my home and my land. I'm the dispatcher that spoke before. We don't have retirement in the law enforcement field like a lot of other careers may have. And I have already been approached by a few people who have heard about the situation up here. And I'm really starting to get the impression that I'm stuck for a while. I would much rather have you really think hard about this and do what's right as the others have shared already. I'm also at the base of the Sprague Creek where the drainage is likely to be a big problem, and that also is another hit if we have this project go through. There's a number of other concerns I could go on and on, but I really hope that you think in terms not just for Conway, but next door and surrounding, and again for people like myself. Everything's in my home. Thank you.
If there's no other public comment, then we will close the public hearing. Do I need a motion for that, Michael?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't do that, we didn't open it by motion, but I'd rather have a termination of it, so we can do that by motion.
Okay, I need a motion to end our public hearing on the ordinance for moratorium at 7:30 p.m.
Make a motion that we include the public hearing right now for the moratorium.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Jeff Klein to end the public hearing on the ordinance for a moratorium for wind energy and solar energy collection systems at 7:30 p.m. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is new business, and we relabeled it number 9. And so this is for consideration of a proposed zoning amendment to impose a moratorium on the issue of permits, licenses, or approvals for, or for any construction of commercial wind and solar energy projects, and to repeal sections of the township ordinance pertaining to wind energy and solar energy collectors. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the moratorium as presented.
So I just want to make sure, so the resolution is to recommend approval of, right? Because that's the process. So the planning commission is only a recommending body to the township board. So the motion would be to approve the resolution to recommend to the township board, and then read the title of that resolution in the bold at the top. Yep.
Okay, make a motion to accept the, how did you say it again?
To approve.
To approve the resolution for the moratorium and recommend to the Board of Trustees. Is that fair?
Yeah. So the resolution is entitled Resolution to Recommend to Township Board Adoption of an Ordinance to Impose a Moratorium on the Issuance of Permits, Licenses, or Approvals for, or for any construction of commercial wind and solar energy projects, and to repeal sections of the Township zoning ordinance pertaining to wind energy and solar energy collectors. So the motion is to adopt that resolution.
Which has been read twice already.
Yes.
So would you like to repeat that, George?
Yeah. Well, that's fine, okay. Motion to accept the resolution to recommend to the Township Board adoption of the ordinance to impose a moratorium on the issuance of permits, licenses, or approvals for, and for any construction of commercial wind and solar energy projects, and to repeal sections of the Township zoning ordinance pertaining to wind energy and solar energy collectors. Sections 1, 2, 3,
No,
4.
you're good with just the title.
Well, now you tell me.
Yes. Perfect.
And Sean, do you still accept that? Okay. So we have a motion by George Pushies to approve the resolution for the moratorium to adopt and oppose, whatever, that number 8. And Sean Morrison seconds it. Any discussion?
Have we put a time on this, Michael?
Yeah, so
Is it going to be a year?
the duration, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you look to the ordinance, the draft ordinance, which is attached, it is 12 months following the effective date of the ordinance. So what happens next, and you probably know this, is this would be referred to the County Planning Commission. County Planning Commission has 30 days to review and make recommendations or comments on the proposed ordinance. Then the Township Board has to defer any action on it until 30 days have expired, or they receive that review and comment from the County Planning Commission. Once they do that, then it would take, assuming that the board then adopted it, it would take effect, and it's 12 months from that date is the time on it. Now, I don't expect that it's going to be 12 months, but I don't know that either. And so we wanted, and I want to make this clear, we wanted to give the Planning Commission and the Township Board enough time and space to be thoughtful about what it wants to regulate here in terms of wind and solar energy. And so giving you that time and space, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is not a race, okay? We want to be thoughtful and circumspect about what is good for your township and the public health, safety, and welfare. And in order to give you that opportunity and time to consider those, then that moratorium extends for 12 months. There's an option to extend it beyond that 12 months, but I'm guessing you're not going to need that 12 months. So what would eventually happen is when you adopt revised or new regulations pertaining to these land uses, then this moratorium would be repealed as part of that action. So that duration is likely less than 12 months, but if you need it, it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Just want to note that the Livingston County Planning Commission will probably come back with no vote. So just as a heads up, and then at that point, it'll be in the board's hands to deal with that. Seeing no other discussion, we will go ahead. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we are at number 10 as revised at the top of the meeting with our agenda, Planning Commission member discussion. Anything for the greater good? All right. We're at adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:37?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, motion by George Pushy, second by Jeff Klein to adjourn the meeting at 7:37 p.m. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I do want to take a moment, I should have said this during the Planning Commission member discussion. I want to take a moment to thank the Fowlerville Junior High School, Kim, and they've got some students and some interns, so thank you very much. I think these microphones, even though it's probably a little bit of a pain to hardwire and everything, is a little bit easier for everyone to hear and to understand our discussion. So I do want to thank you for that. And if I don't see Kim and you see Kim, will you just let her know I really appreciate all of her time and energy and effort. Kim, thank you so much. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I wanted to tell you, I'm very impressed because every time I talk to my son about what I do, his eyes glaze over and it's just lost on him. So
this is an easier crowd than Marywood.
it was a fun crowd. It was fun. I like it. I don't shy away from it. So everybody gets their chance to say what they want to say. It's the way it should be.
Mayor, I'm Tom Parker.
Hi, Tom.
I was at the first Conway Township meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know whether I would.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But thank you for your help.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
Pretty good. How are you doing?